Good afternoon, Professor Cukurova. Welcome to EduHQ. Now I have some questions to ask you about AI in education. So we all know that technology developed very fast. How can we better survive in the academic world with AI that is ubiquitous in our life? My first question is, so nowadays there are numerous reports discussing the potential threats and fears associated with the rapid development of AI. What do you think of it? Who do you think is smarter, AI or human being?
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here from Hong Kong, as you can see. I would like to take this question on a different front. I am not convinced if this is the right comparison. To me, humans are not more intelligent than computers, or computers are more intelligent than humans. We are different, and AI and computers have different kind of intelligence. For instance, humans are evolved with millions years of evolutionary learning, which makes our intelligence as an emergent intelligence that is very flexible and very holistic. Whereas AI technologies that we are building are designed technologies, so they have designed intelligence that is built into them, that is very good for a particular goal or a set of goals. So these comparisons of humans are being more intelligent or less intelligent than computers is not an appropriate comparison because they are different kinds of intelligences.
Thank you very much. And then the second question is, how will the integration of AI into educational system affect the development of critical thinking and problem solving skills in students? Does it have a positive or negative effect?
Thank you very much for this excellent question. I think the extent to which AI adoption in education will influence our core competencies, including critical thinking, including our problem solving capabilities, including our creativity, will all be dependent upon the specific learning design and instructional design in which these AI technologies are implemented. AI can be used as an opportunity to replace some of our core competencies. And these kind of replacement interventions, the use cases where we are replacing our capabilities of solving a problem or replacing our creativity with AI, are in the long term likely to lead an atrophy, a decrease in our capabilities of critically thinking or creatively producing. To me, instructional and learning designs that does not replace our core competencies are a lot more meaningful. For instance, instead of asking students to use an AI to solve a problem, you could ask students to initially solve a problem on their own and use AI for sense checking the way that they solve a particular problem. It's very common in specific pedagogies like inquiry-based learning that you expect students to come up with their own hypotheses first before they go about explore in their experiments. You expect them to hypothesize or think about what would the solution look like before they start doing the experiment. These kind of effective pedagogies should derive the use cases of AI. So instead of starting from scratch and forgetting about what we already know, how effective learning occurs and what kind of pedagogies lead to improvements on these kind of core competencies, we should think about embedding AI as part of these core pedagogies, existing pedagogies that we know are likely to increase students' core competencies like critical thinking and problem solving. To me, it will all be dependent upon the particular learning design and pedagogical instruction in which these tools are embedded. If we get it right, then they can improve our critical thinking, our creativity, our problem solving. If we don't do it right with regards to appropriate pedagogy, they are very likely to lead to a decrease in our core competencies.
Thank you very much for the great response. I cannot agree more with you that pedagogy is more important than technology itself. So my third question is how to avoid potential ethical concerns of relying on AI for educational purposes like biases and hallucination, and how can these be addressed to ensure equity and inclusiveness in education?
Well, this is a very big problem, isn't it? It's a very big question. And maybe I can expand upon at least two dimensions of this question. With regards to ethics and AI, there are at least two dimensions. One is doing ethical AI, which means that we should be working towards improving the ethics of our AI models, which means we need to ensure that they have at least recognized bias or mitigate bias when it is possible. They should be fair. They should be transparent. Actions that are taken by AI should be accountable and accounted by humans. All of these approaches that we need to bring in to improving the ethics of AI is one dimension of thinking about this whole big space of ethics of AI. And this is slightly different, relevant, but slightly different than acting ethically in education with the use of AI. For instance, you can have a very transparent, limited bias AI tool that is not used in an ethical manner in an educational setting. For instance, a lot of the AI replacement activities in today's school contexts are helping those very affluent backgrounded students and backgrounded institutes a lot more than those schools that are coming from low socioeconomic backgrounds. And the reason behind this is that oftentimes the amount of resources that are saved with the replacement of AI helps those low socioeconomic backgrounded institutes and schools. So to me, acting ethically, where you are trying to bridge this gap between the high socioeconomic and low socioeconomic backgrounded students and or institutes and or countries, is a relevant but different consideration than ethics of AI itself, which relates to how do we address the biases, fairness, transparency, and accountability of our AI models. Both dimensions are very important and they are intertwined, but they should be considered as separate, unique aspects that we can work towards addressing.
That's great views. Oh, and my next question is, does University College London have any policies of using AI for teachers and students?
Yes, indeed. When the first generative AI wave hit all of us as educators, as faculty members, as university teachers, at UCL we created an AI steering committee. And as part of this committee, our role was initially to come up with a set of regulation guidance and training to all of our students and our faculty members. So a lot of the institutes, when the first generative AI wave hit, took a very traditional approach of trying to ban the use of these AI technologies. At UCL, we were very progressive. We were aware of the fact that these technologies are here to stay. So we took the position that we should embrace the fact that these technologies are here, and we should educate our students and our faculty members on how to use these tools ethically and effectively. Based on this, we created a set of regulations which are publicly available, open source. There's a website. If you Google UCI AI ethics guidelines or UCI AI application guidance, you can find these regulations online as well. We created a Moodle course for all the students who are starting UCL to take to improve their understanding of how these systems work, what are the limitations of these systems are, what are the strengths of these systems are. We also encourage all of our faculty members to take this course on generative AI. But in addition to these kind of guidance and regulations, we also left it quite flexible in the sense that each department and each module leader, program leader, can decide the extent to which they would like to allow their students to use AI as part of their course activities and their assessment. Because this discussion requires a more nuanced consideration. Some of the programs, some of the modules make a lot more sense if the students are using generative AI as part of their learning activities and assessments, but some others do not really make as much sense. So we left this agency and decision making up to the department heads and the program leaders to make a decision. But the guidance that applies broadly across UCL is available online. And I would encourage everyone to have a look at it and send us feedback. Maybe your institute has better guidance. We need to all collaborate together to improve these kind of guidance and regulations that we are bringing into the use of AI in higher education contexts.
Sure. Thank you very much for the great sharing. I think your university has a very wise policies concerning the use of AI. So my next question is, what kind of training and support will teachers need to effectively integrate AI into their teaching practices from a perspective of the three conceptualizations of AI tools in education: to externalize, to be internalized, or to extend the human cognition?
Brilliant question. Thank you very much for this. Maybe I can start by saying that unique features of AI technologies that make them different than traditional ICT and information and communication technologies require teachers to develop a new set of competencies. A lot of the existing ICT, traditional digital technologies, are used for facilitation of learning activity, whereas AI, by definition, has a default decision-making model built into them, which means that we need to think about the extent to which decision-making is shared between the teacher and the AI model, and that requires a unique set of competencies to be developed by teachers. For instance, a lot of the existing training activities that I am observing with regards to AI and teachers' competency development considers mainly teaching teachers about the fundamentals and basics of AI and giving them some guidance on particular application skills, how to use a specific tool. These considerations are indeed important and they should be part of the training. But to me, this is not enough. In addition to these AI application skills and AI foundational knowledge, we should be training teachers on 4 other competency aspects. One relates to being able to keep a human-centered mindset. By which what I mean is that we need to help teachers to develop a critical attitudinal disposition towards AI use so that the first impression of a teacher is to critically evaluate whatever the outcome of an AI tool is. That requires an improved teacher agency, an improved sense of accountability, an improved sense of contribution to an AI society. The second aspect relates to AI ethics. As previous question I was hinting towards, we need to teach teachers about the potential biases, potential transparency issues that are inherently embedded into many of the existing AI tools. For instance, even though there are significant progress initiatives that have been made with regards to language models, these models still have certain issues that are associated with hallucination, confabulation, coming up with incorrect information. And these examples do exist. So we need to educate people about AI ethics so that they are aware of the models might be biased, they might be generating incorrect responses, so they are a lot more aware of these ethical issues that are associated with the model building process. A teacher should be aware of the AI pipeline from the data collection, data training, the training of the model, and the output generation, and think about at what steps of this AI development pipeline bias might creep in. Some fairness issues might emerge. Transparency should be a core consideration that requires further training of our teachers. And the third issue is associated with the specific AI pedagogies. This is not only about using a particular technology that's subject generic. Every teacher has a subject specific expertise. Science teachers have particular capabilities, particular pedagogical expertise. We need to train teachers on this subject specific pedagogical expertise and how AI can potentially transform their subject specific pedagogy. And the last dimension is related to the use of AI for professional development. A lot of the AI competencies require teachers to become lifelong learners because AI is a fast changing technology. We can't expect this kind of teacher training to be a one off occasion and you go once in your career and then you are done. You need to develop these capabilities of becoming a lifelong learner, becoming a self-regulated learner, so that you constantly improve yourself as a teacher, as a professional teacher. These competencies are also part of AI competencies, in my opinion. And this is the last aspect that relates to. Of course, there are also considerations on how do we use AI as a reflection tool for professional development. And I think this is also very interesting. For instance, we are currently exploring if AI simulations can be used by teachers to improve their practice. So rather than going to a very difficult classroom of 40 students, you can model an AI to simulate these difficult classroom discussions and teachers to practice in a safe environment. So these kind of AI use cases for professional development also are associated with a set of competencies that we need to train our teachers on. I know that was a long answer, but I just wanted to give an answer that does give more justice to such a complex question on teacher training rather than only assuming that AI foundational knowledge and particular application skills of a particular tool will be enough. it will not be enough. We need to think more holistically.
Great. So those are very insightful views. And the last question is, just now in your talk, you mentioned a broader educational approach that includes educating about AI itself and innovating educational systems to remain relevant in a world embedded with ubiquitous AI. So can you give us some suggestions or examples about
This is a very obviously broad question, but one of the fundamental problems, I think, within our existing education systems is the existing assessment structures. So, a key innovation that we need to bring into our education systems is an innovative way of assessing the competencies of our students. For instance, a lot of the UK students and teachers that we are interviewing and we are talking to expect AI to automate existing bad assessment practices. To me, this is a very problematic approach to the use of AI. Many students expect AI to write an essay for them, and many teachers expect these essays to be marked and graded by an AI tool. So, as I was trying to make the point in the talk as well, we might end up in a dystopian future where AI writes essays, AI grades essays, and nobody actually learns and nobody gets the satisfaction of looking at the flourishment of their students. To me, we need to move towards more process assessment structures in our education systems. And that is an example of the kind of innovation that we need to bring into our education systems for AI to be more meaningful. Otherwise, we will end up replicating our best practices and automating them, which exacerbates the existing crisis of education systems.
Thank you very much for the great suggestions and sharing. We learned a lot from you.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks a lot.